These are
The 7 pillars of a healthy diet: eggs, bone broth, leafy greens. The final 3:
Additionally,
specialized strength and nutrient-dense. The essential supplements to complete your regimen.
Processed flour and sugar cause an insulin spike. This leads to energy crashes.
High insulin levels are the root cause of many chronic diseases.
Which is
This
at the root of
None
probably
better, you say?
80% of chronic
Look at these
diseases out
cereals.
there. In other words, most foods that lower insulin are good, and the foods that raise insulin are super bad for you.
Beware the
Therefore,
danger of
one of
bread.
the common themes
It lurks in the
throughout this
shadows.
list is
The
going to be
common
foods
theme.
that do not
Let's look at
increase
these
your
whole
insulin.
food.
There are no other foods that I know of that will even come close to these 7, or shall we say, 10 foods. Let's start with number 1, sauerkraut. You want to make sure you get the raw sauerkraut, because if you buy sauerkraut in the store that is sitting on the shelf, that product is pasteurized. This means it has been heated, and heat or pasteurization is going to destroy the key thing in sauerkraut, which is the microbes. Did you realize that sauerkraut is one of the most powerful probiotics out there? It is way better than yogurt, way better than kefir, and way better than most probiotics that you buy from the grocery store. 1 cup of this fermented cabbage provides about 1.9 net carbs, so it barely has any carbs at all. It contains a lot of fiber, but also a lot of nutrition. Sauerkraut is the most vitamin C-dense food out there. In 1 tiny cup, you are going to get over 700 milliliters of vitamin C. That is 10 times the RDA just from 1 little cup. It is a very easy vegetable to digest. Most people with digestive problems, especially if they have an ulcer or gastritis, can consume sauerkraut very easily. Sauerkraut is also loaded with something called glutamine, which actually heals the gut if there is inflammation. Furthermore, sauerkraut is loaded with vitamin K2. Vitamin K2 removes calcium from the soft tissues of the body, including the arteries and the calcium that builds up in your joints. Apparently, the microbes in the sauerkraut make vitamin K2, which is pretty wild. Sauerkraut is also loaded with all sorts of phytonutrients, one being sulforaphane, which people normally think about in broccoli or broccoli sprouts, but it is also in other cruciferous vegetables like sauerkraut, which is basically cabbage. It has not only been studied for having anti-cancer properties, but it can also help to put the microbe called H. pylori back into remission. This is the microbe behind ulcers. The real heavy lifter in sauerkraut is something called vitamin U. The technical name for it is S-methylmethionine. This specific nutrient heals ulcers. It is great for inflammation in the stomach, but if you have any type of ulcers in your stomach, your small intestine or your large intestine, it goes in there, builds up the mucus layer, and actually heals the ulcer. I would just put about a half a cup or maybe even 1 cup on your plate, and that is all you need per day. Arugula is one of the vegetables that has very low amounts of oxalates. Oxalates can aggravate the joints and can end up as kidney stones, but arugula is a very safe vegetable if you are concerned about kidney stones. However, the big reason you want to consume arugula as your alternative lettuce for your salad is because of what it can do for the inside of your arteries. It is one of those foods that gives you the highest amount of nitric oxide. Now, what is nitric oxide? Nitric oxide is a very special compound that helps vasodilate the arteries to keep the blood pressure from going high and to help protect the arteries against inflammation. I am not just talking about the circulation in the heart. I am talking about circulation throughout the entire body. So it is not just good for blood pressure, it is also good for erectile dysfunction. Out of all the foods on the planet, arugula has the most nitric oxide. The other cool thing about arugula is that it has anti-cancer properties because it is a cruciferous vegetable. Personally, I dump a lot of extra virgin olive oil on arugula and add a little nutritional yeast because it gives it a cheese flavor. Nutritional yeast also provides B vitamins and amino acids. The combination of why I take it is that it tastes good and gives me more B vitamins, especially to keep stress levels low. Wild-caught salmon is essentially the equivalent of organic. You are going to get something much better than farm-raised fish because, in farm-raised environments, they sometimes use antibiotics and certain additives that you do not want in that fish. They also have to use different pigments to color the salmon to make it look pink. But when you are consuming wild-caught salmon, it is super healthy because it is out in the wild. Just 3 oz of salmon equals 2,000 milliliters of omega-3 fatty acids. Now, what is an omega-3 fatty acid? It is a combination of 2 things, DHA, which is really good to build your brain, and your retina to allow you to see, and EPA, which is a very powerful anti-inflammatory. So, for anything related to itis, arthritis, bursitis, tendinitis, or inflammation of whatever, you want more omega-3 fatty acids. If we actually compare salmon to codfish, 3 oz of salmon will give you 2,000 milliliters of omega-3, while cod only gives you 171 milliliters. I am not talking about cod liver oil here. I am talking about the fish itself. Some people are concerned about mercury when they consume fish, but you don't have to be with salmon because it is loaded with selenium. Selenium helps bind with the mercury and helps mobilize it out of the body so it doesn't build up. Further down the list, when I talk about another food with selenium, it is going to blow your mind. One thing about salmon that I always do is eat it with the skin on. The skin has a lot of nutrients, and especially right underneath the skin, you have a lot of omega-3 fatty acids and other things like collagen. I would highly recommend you eat salmon or other fatty fish at least a couple of times a week. I did mention cod, but I didn't mention cod liver. Now, what is cod liver? Cod liver is something you can consume in a can. You can buy it online through Amazon or other ways, as they actually sell cod liver in a can. You probably won't find it just by going to the grocery store. Cod liver is the liver of the codfish, and it is very unique because, out of all foods including salmon, cod liver has the most omega-3 fatty acids. Omega-3 is so important right now, not just for your heart, but to drive inflammation down and to counter all the high omega-6 fatty acids from seed oils, because omega-3 competes with omega-6. The majority of the population consumes about 1/3 of their calories from seed oils, so we need a lot more omega-3 to balance that out. If we are talking about nutrient-dense foods, yes, you have organ meats like liver, but a lot of people don't like those, including myself. Even though it is good for me, I just can't eat it. But I can do cod liver. It is like pudding. I like the texture and the taste. There are some unique things about cod liver. First, it comes in cod liver oil, which is also super high in omega-3, but I wouldn't actually drink the oil, or your gallbladder might feel very heavy. I would just eat the cod liver in the oil and not drink the oil itself. If I were to compare cod liver to salmon, cod liver has a lot more omega-3. It is fattier too, but the fat you get is very good for your brain, your nervous system, and your heart. As a side note, the 2 things that do not increase insulin are fiber and fat. That would be fatty salmon and cod liver, which is fattier than a lean fish. Several years ago, I did a video on canned products like this, and I assumed without testing that eating these foods would destroy the omega-3 fatty acids. I never tested it, so I felt a little weird about that video. I went to the store, bought canned tuna, cod liver, and canned sardines, and sent them to the lab. The report showed that they actually do have the amount of omega-3s they claim to have. So, I deleted the old video and made a new one explaining that you can still retain omega-3 fatty acids despite the heat used in the canning process. Hamburger is probably a surprising one. You might think of hamburger as junk food, like what you buy at McDonald's. I am not talking about that kind of hamburger. That meat probably comes from 200 or 300 different sources, and the quality is not great. I am talking about grass-fed hamburger. If you can find organic, that would be even better. Grass-fed hamburger is not only easy to digest, but it normally has a better fat-to-protein ratio. I would not buy the lean version. I would buy the 80-20, which is a little bit fattier. If you consume lean meat, you are going to raise a little more insulin than if there was more fat with that protein. The same applies to eggs. If you eat egg whites without the yolk where the fat is, you will have a higher spike in insulin. In fact, out of all the types of protein you can eat, the one highest on the insulin scale is whey protein powder because it is super low fat. It is just pure protein. I recommend consuming protein with the fat that normally comes with it. You will find that when you eat protein with fat, it stays in your digestive system a little longer and you get more absorption of the amino acids. It doesn't go through your body as fast because it is less refined and more natural. I consume a lot of hamburger without the bun, and it makes me feel good. All the data people tell you about red meat causing cancer or diabetes is utterly ridiculous and absolutely not true. In fact, I healed my body on red meat. Red meat, especially from animals that eat grass, is super high quality and very bioavailable. Hamburger also has B vitamins, zinc, iron, and copper. It contains carnosine, an anti-aging antioxidant compound that helps you live longer. Hamburger is also high in creatine. People buy creatine powder to increase muscle growth, but when you eat hamburger, you get about 350 milliliters per 100 g. Hamburger also provides the type of iron that is the most bioavailable on Earth. If you get iron from spinach, you won't get anywhere near the absorption you get from meat. Brazil nuts are something I wouldn't recommend consuming in large quantities, just 1 or 2 per day. What is so special about a Brazil nut? Out of all the foods on planet Earth, Brazil nuts have the most selenium. Selenium can help your thyroid by helping T4 convert to T3, the active form of the thyroid hormone. Many people with hypothyroidism don't lack iodine. They lack selenium because it is not very prevalent in the soils anymore. A lot of fertilizers we use don't let selenium go into the plant. And if it's not in the plants or animals, it won't end up in our bodies. If you suffer from a selenium deficiency, your thyroid will suffer. But there is something even bigger. What selenium does for your immune system is mind-blowing. Certain T cells, specifically T helper cells, cannot work without selenium. T helper cells are like the command center or the Pentagon of your immune system. If you don't have that high-level control to tell the troops to deliver weaponry against pathogens, viruses, and cancer, you become very vulnerable to problems like AIDS. There is a huge correlation between selenium deficiency and susceptibility to AIDS, and data shows that increasing selenium can improve AIDS complications. Autoimmune diseases like Hashimoto's, lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, and MS are also very common. And people with these conditions often suffer from either a selenium or vitamin D deficiency. Selenium also affects testosterone in both men and women. In females, testosterone turns into estrogen. Selenium protects the ovaries for fertility and protects the testicles to make sperm more mobile. It is also crucial in preventing hair loss, including alopecia, which is an autoimmune disease. However, there is a risk of toxicity if you eat 20 nuts every day for months, so I only recommend 1 or 2 Brazil nuts daily. Extra virgin olive oil helps you extract phytonutrients from the salads you put it on. You can tell it is real extra virgin olive oil if you feel a little tickle or biting sensation in the back of your throat. I consumed olive oil for years without knowing this because I was likely consuming an adulterated version. There is a lot of corruption in the olive oil industry where they mix it with other things, so you have to find a good brand from Spain, Italy, or other countries. I consume a lot of it because it is good for your heart and cells, acting as an anti-inflammatory and antioxidant. Its phytonutrients are 20 times stronger than green tea. It is also great for the mitochondria, and is anti-clotting. Realize that 90% of heart attacks and strokes are related to a blood clot, not just plaque. Now for the bonus foods. First is quality cheese, full fat, raw, and aged. Most of the cheese I consume is imported, though some places in America do it right. Cheese is a fermented product containing microbes that are good for your gut. It is also loaded with vitamin K2, which I view as an anti-aging vitamin on steroids. It keeps calcium from building up in soft tissues like arteries and joints. As we get older, we calcify and become stiff. K2 prevents this. Cheese also has CLA, a compound that helps you burn more fat. It has butyric acid to feed colon cells, and because it is fermented, the microbes eat up the milk sugar, making it very low carb and a high-quality protein. The next bonus is dark chocolate. I'm not talking about candy bars, but dark chocolate or cacao powder. I often have 85% dark chocolate as a dessert after lunch. I don't eat it late at night because of the stimulants. It is loaded with polyphenols and increases nitric oxide, just like arugula. While some worry about oxalates in chocolate leading to kidney stones, chocolate is loaded with magnesium, which has a high affinity for oxalates and neutralizes them. Magnesium is a master controller of calcium, helps muscles, lowers cortisol, aids sleep, and helps create energy in the mitochondria. Often, it is your microbes craving the chocolate and sending signals to your brain. It has a small amount of sugar, but only about 6 net grams of carbs, which is low enough for a ketogenic diet. The last bonus is L-reuteri yogurt. This is a microbe that is missing in the general population today, especially if you weren't breastfed or have taken antibiotics. It is a key microbe because it helps increase muscle mass, improves sleep, and increases the hormone oxytocin. Oxytocin lowers cortisol and stress while increasing social impulses. When I started taking it, my wife noticed I wanted to hug her much more often. It triggers your body to make more oxytocin via the vagus nerve. It is also helpful for SIBO, where microbes from the large intestine end up in the small intestine causing bloating. You only need about half a cup a day. Most people eat the opposite of these foods, focusing on refined products. I want you to eat these foods for just 7 days to prove it to yourself. You will feel the best you have ever felt. Please tell me in the comments if you are going to try this, and come back in 7 days to report how you feel. I am 60 years old, and I feel like I am 18, much healthier than I was in my 30s. If this information changes the way you look at the ingredients in your kitchen, please subscribe and like our channel. We are dedicated to uncovering the health history and nutritional truths that have been overlooked. Start planting the seeds for your future health today. The next storehouse of wellness wisdom will be opened very soon.